fourth grade. So for today's science lesson, you're going to be learning about the brain, which is important with our senses because our senses tell our brain things, which in turn tells our body to do different things. So the first part of the brain that I want you to focus on is this large part and what kind of seems like most of the brain, okay? This part is called the cerebrum. The cerebrum is in charge of telling the person to think, move, remember, problem solve, and regulate emotion. So basically everything that we do, the cerebrum is in charge. Now, inside the cerebrum are different, what we call lobes, and different parts of the brain to help us that are in charge of different movements or different the different parts have different responsibilities, but for the most part, the large part of the brain and what we're really focused on for fourth grade learning is the cerebrum. Okay, within the cerebrum are different cortexes, and you'll see this word cortex here, here, here. So these cortex, each cortex has a responsibility, okay? So the sensory cortex at the top here, right here probably, is in charge of your touch, your sense of touch. So that's when you touch things, that's where the information is sent. The gustatory cortex, taste, is right about here. And your olfactory cortex is here, that's smell. So, and I want you to notice how close taste and smell are to each other, and think about if you did the optional science experiments, if you plugged your nose and put something in your mouth, you notice that you can't taste it very well. Look at how close those senses are connected to each other, and look at how close they are to each other in your brain. So it probably has something to do with that. Auditory cortex is hearing, that's here. And then your visual cortex is here, okay? And that's for sight, visual. Okay, another part of the brain is down here in this area. It's the cerebellum. It's this guy right here, okay? And the cerebellum, they call the little brain. And the cerebellum is in charge of coordination and balance. And if you look closely, see how close your visual cortex is to the cerebellum, and maybe that has something to do with why your visual cortex is there, and maybe why God designed our brains that way with our senses. So the cerebellum being at the back of the brain, okay, and your visual cortex being about in you know, around the same area as the cerebellum, which again handles balance and coordination. And finally, this part right here is the brainstem. Now your brainstem is in charge of controlling body functions like breathing, your heart rate, and digestion. So your brainstem is really where the main, like the things that keep us going, your heart, your breathing, your digestion, if those things aren't working, our bodies are not, they're not working properly. And our brainstem is something that we might want to look at, right? If our brainstem is damaged, one of those things might be damaged as well. So the brainstem is very important for our living. I want you to just take notice of all of the things that the cerebrum has inside of it, that it has in charge of it. So really, it's all of these guys, right? All of the senses inside. Now, the cerebellum and the brainstem are in charge of important things, but the cerebrum houses our senses. So the cerebrum, the main part of our brain, really, I mean, everywhere in the brain, it's all doing all kinds of things all the time. Another thing to notice too is how our brain has different things positioned. And as you learn throughout your years in science, where different senses are located in your brain, maybe what lobe or what part of the brain is that? And that's not something that we're going to go into in fourth grade, but I want you just to consider different parts of the human brain and what maybe is in charge of those areas within those cortexes. An optional dissection activity for you is a sheep brain dissection. I don't do it in class. It's really challenging to show you the parts that we need to see. But you're more than welcome to do it on your own. Like I said, I will not provide a separate video for you, but if you would like to, you can order a sheep brain from Carolina Science and go ahead and do that. But I won't have any demonstration videos for you on that one. But anyways, just make sure that you review your parts of the brain and understand where your senses are connected, and pay special attention to this area, especially for next week's cow-eye dissection. And things will start to kind of connect and make sense for us. So I will see you later.